The thing is that if you are trying to get a business line of credit for your LLC, okay, and you happen to have low income right now, in other words, business is kind of slow, you're trying everything, you're trying to get customers, but it's not really working. Or let's say you don't want to provide a proof of income, right? Because maybe you have a cash situation where your LLC is not, that doesn't have a proper business accounting process in place. This is the show I really want you to pay attention to because I will explain everything to you when it comes to getting an LLC, business line of credit, low income, no income, proof of income, if you will. Okay. So here are the steps I really want you to really pay attention to. So, long story short, when you are trying to get an LLC business line of credit, the first thing you need to pay attention to is the funding level. Why? Because, see, if you are telling the lender, hey, listen, I'm not really generating enough revenue right now. My income is kind of a little sporadic, if any at all, okay? And you're asking the lender to give you, let's say, $100,000. The first question they'll ask you is, they will see the inconsistency between the fact that you have no revenue, like you can't prove your revenue, or you can't prove anything at all, and you're asking for that much money. Like you're asking for certainty on the lender's side, and you are providing uncertainty. Boss, you see the delta there? This will never work. So this is why when you are asking for, let's say you want to ask for 25 grand, for example, if let's say you want 25 grand for your LLC, this is kind of cool. This is decent. What you do here is that you're able to say, you know what, I cannot prove that my income will be sufficient to cover whatever I charge, whatever I tap into when it comes to my business line of credit. However, here is some proof that I do generate enough revenue. Okay, you don't have to show your income statement, but you can show your projected income statement, or you can even show, for instance, your bank statements. All right. So those are things I really want you to think about. So you got to show something. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. We love having this kind of conversations every now and then. So number one, when I'm talking about your funding level, you have to make sure that you are not very greedy, like how much you're asking the bank or you're asking the business, the lender, whatever you're asking, it's kind of reasonable. And make sure that you've done research also about how much lenders actually extend in terms of business line of credit for LLCs in your industry. Because the last thing you want is that you don't want a low ball or high ball. In other words, let's say you're like your LLC, you're asking for $10,000 in business line of credit, whereas in the industry, the average that all LLCs are asking is 50 grand or 75 grand. Now, if you ask for a low number, what will happen here is that the lender will be thinking, well, you know what, this LLC is a low performing, low quality LLC. And they'll look at your case a lot more like with the more scrutiny. So either way, you don't want that. One thing I want you to be very careful here is that you want to make sure you always have the funds to pay it back. Whatever you are taking from the bank or another lender, alternative lender, make sure you have the funds to pay it back. So if you want to get an LLC business line of credit with low income or no income proof, first thing first, funding level. Second thing is the type. The whole thing here is that, boss, one thing people don't tell you is that when we talk about an LLC business line of credit, you can have a secured or you can have an unsecured line of credit. Okay. Don't you think that it has to be unsecured automatically? Because see, right now you probably want a business line of credit, or that's why you're just watching this video. Okay. But who knows? Maybe your LLC does have some assets that you can collateralize so you can get a better business line of credit and faster too. So what I'm trying to say here is if you have some kind of equipment or machinery in your LLC and those assets are pretty decent, they are in decent shape. So, they're not really obsolete, whatever. Trying to do an appraisal. Who knows? You can grab some thousand, like a couple of $1,000s from the equity left in the assets that you currently have. So the point I'm trying to make here is that I want you to explore all possibilities when you are looking for an LLC business line of credit, low income, no income proof. Okay. So it could be secured. It could be unsecured. But the question here is that if you are going for either option, what is the plan you have? It's not just about applying for a business line of credit for my LLC, but you got to think about how much do I need? What am I going to use the cash for? And do I have the wherewithal? Do I have the resources to pay it back? So if the business line of credit says it's like pay as you go, because see, when we talk about business line of credit, you have different options. You can have pay as you go. You can have a draw period followed by a repayment period. You can have a very short draw period and a very long repayment period, or vice versa. It really depends. What I'm trying to say here is that depending on which one you choose, you got to be really careful in terms of making sure that, again, it doesn't disrupt your cash flows, because your LLC, even though you have no income proof, or even though you have low income, you're still generating revenue, because otherwise you wouldn't be in business in the first place. Money must be coming in. This is where you forget about your accounting statements, like your income statements, your cash flow statements, and you just go back to Business Accounting 101. Go back to your bank statements. What is your bank statement telling you, boss? What picture is your bank, through its bank statements, painting about your business, painting about your LLC? Is it a rosy picture or is it a crappy picture? Talk to me about that, boss. Talk to me about that. The third thing I want you to really pay attention to, boss, here is qualification. So if you are trying to get an LLC, business line of credit, low income or no income proof, qualification is really key. And qualifications has several tentacles, if you will, has several criteria attached to it. And when we talk about qualification, the first thing we talk about here is to make sure that your LLC is legit. Okay, your LLC has a proper physical address. And when we talk about physical address, it can be a virtual address too. I mean, in other words, it could be you can actually get a physical address through a virtual mailbox service, okay, such as iPostal One or free or checkusa.com, whatever. But it's important to have the right address and to always divorce your personal address, your home address, from your LLC address. Okay, this is a quintessential element that will qualify you in the first place. Because you can say, what, I can't prove my income. Okay, but do you have an LLC in the first place? Do you really have a legit LLC? Yes, I do. Okay, prove it to me. Prove it to me. Okay, you want to actually determine your eligibility. Do you have your articles of incorporation? Yes, I do. Okay. Do you have your certificate of good standing? Yes, I do. Okay. Now we're talking. All right. And when we talk about qualification for the LLC business line of credit, you got to think about things like credit history, your time in business. One thing you will realize is that if you're looking for an LLC business line of credit with low income or no income proof for that matter, you are going to need a high credit score. The reason is that the lender wants to actually allay the fears that their underwriting department has. In other words, they want to mitigate the risk. In regular everyday language, they want to cover their asses. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, the lender is in business to make money, so they will ask for your credit history, and the higher the better. So if you can't prove your revenue, if you can't prove your income, you want to make sure you have a high credit score. On top of that, you want to have some kind of projected business revenue, so estimated. In other words, you want to have a situation where you're telling the lender, hey, listen, I may not have actual proof of my business, but based on my calculations, based on the experience we have in this industry, and based on what my rivals, for example, are showing, and based on the fact that we have a market share of 25% or 30%, here are our numbers, okay? And so LLCs, also LLC business line of credit lenders, they pay attention a lot to time in business. This goes back to an accounting term called going concern. In other words, if you have a going concern problem, that means the lender is not sure you'll be around 3, 4, 5 years from now. The next thing I want you to do, boss, if you are trying to get a business line of credit with low income or no income proof is really compare lenders. The funny thing is you can go to, sometimes you go to a happy hour, you go to a social event, and you talk to people, and then you start realizing that in the crowd, you have a business lender or you have business lenders, okay? Because everybody thinks, for business loans and lines of credit for your LLC, you can only get them through banks and credit unions. But nowadays, you have a new constellation of institutions, from alternative lenders to online lenders, who are playing big time. They are playing big time when it comes to business line of credit and business loans, okay? Let me give you an example. Take Bluevine. Bluevine is not a bank. They're a fintech. Of course, they have partnered with a traditional bank, but Bluevine gives you a business line of credit for your LLC up to $250,000. Okay, and so Bluevine is a big player that we love a lot, by the way. Boss, let me quickly remind you of today's conversation. The topic, I'm explaining to you how to get an LLC business line of credit with low income, no income proof, okay? And so besides Bluevine, you have other players. You have other players in this industry. They're doing something fantastic, and I really mean it. From Kalamata Group to Balboa Capital to Small Biz to Lend You, those players are really, really, really scoring big time. Okay, so when we talk about comparing your LLC business line of credit, low income, no income, I'm just saying that you want to cast a wider net. Okay, don't you just limit yourselves to only one or two players. No, and again, it's not just about several players in the same category. You want to extend the net to several players in several categories. So you want to have several credit unions, several banks, several online lenders and whatnot. So you do have a larger panel that you can look at. You have a larger selection you can look at and decide really carefully whether or not you're making the right decision when it comes to getting an LLC business line of credit with low income or no income proof. The next thing I want you to do, boss, after doing all this analysis, you got to select a lender. Because if you do the analysis but you don't decide, this is like a waste of time, really. Okay, so it's really important for you to make a decision. So you got to ask yourself, okay, first of all, how do you what do you need the money for? Like, you basically have low income, no income proof, okay, but you're looking for a business line of credit for your LLC. My first question to you is that, what do you need the cash for? That was the same question I asked someone that I met a month ago when I was just on vacation and just chilling, and we were just talking, and this person came to me and said, well, I have an LLC and I'm looking for a business line of credit. And I asked this person, what do you need the cash for? Because when you get a business line of credit, you use the cash for operational purposes. In other words, you're not using the business line of credit for something that does not generate revenue. It has to generate revenue, especially if you're new. You want to generate revenue. Once you generate revenue, you're in a better position to actually to control things going forward. And when we talk about selecting a lender, you also got to ask yourself, do you want to go with a big national bank? Do you want to go with a medium national bank? Do you want to go with a local bank, with a state bank? Do you want to go with a big credit union? Do you want to go with a mid-sized credit union or a small credit union? So those are really important questions for you, the LLC founder, right? And every option has a pros and cons. Let me give you an example. If you go to a large national bank such as Citi or Chase, and you are applying for an LLC business line of credit there, the requirements might be a little more stringent, and the application process will just take forever. Take 30 days or 60 days and whatnot. And before you know it, you just ran out of cash and just asking yourself, am I getting my business line of credit at all? So for banks and credit unions, for that matter, things can be a little slow. But if you were to go for an alternative lender, or you were to go for an online lender, the application process is faster. The only problem is be ready to pay for more when it comes to interest. So there is a trade-off to have here. As long as you're comfortable with either or, go ahead and do whatever you have to do. All right. Big decision time. Big decision time, boss. Are you currently, have you currently gathered the paperwork? Because option number 5 is paperwork. Have you gathered the paperwork, the required paperwork to actually get the stuff done? Boss, talk to me about that. Big decision time, big decision time. Because I don't want you to sit around, just listen to this show, watch this show, and not take action. All right, this is a waste of time for both you and me. Like if you just listen and not take action, this is not good. So I'm just nudging you. I'm pushing you to make sure you consider whatever you have to do so that you get the paperwork ready and you can actually apply for your business line of credit for your LLC. Doesn't matter whether you have a low income or no income. Okay, so once you have, let's say you have found your preferred vendor, your preferred lender, your preferred credit card issuer, your preferred whatever the institution you're getting the business line of credit from. Make sure that you gather your personal and business tax returns. And for LLCs, we're speaking about 1065. Okay, and just remember that you can actually have an LLC and elect to be treated tax-wise in another tax category. So you can say you can file paperwork like Form 2553. I believe that's the right form. This form allows you to actually file as a different entity. So you can be an LLC and file as a C corporation, for example. And the law is okay with that. Okay, the law is not a problem. So think about your personal and business tax returns. Think about your business licenses. Think about your articles of organization. Think about your personal and business bank statements. Think about your P&L statements, your profit and loss statements. Okay, think about your business plan and think about your building lease. Okay, those are things I really want you to think about when we have a larger conversation about the paperwork that you need to file. Okay, and also you got to ask yourself: is your LLC looking for expansion? Is your LLC going to be there for a long time, or this is just like something temporary? Because those are things you need to think about in terms of planning, so you are pretty clear what you're getting yourself into. The next thing I want you to do here is to submit your application. Boss, you got to submit your application. And this is really important to submit your application at the right time. It's not just about like, I am doing something because, I just want to, no. Because I just want to get the business line of credit for my LLC real fast. No, you're applying at the right time because you need the money to actually expand your LLC. Okay. And so when we talk about actually submitting your application, you have to include things like your name, your LLC business name, your social security number, your desired loan amount or line amount, the line purpose, the loan purpose, the business tax ID, that's the EIN, and your annual revenue. Okay, so those are really important to really think about, and you want to avoid a few common mistakes we have actually covered on this show when it comes to business line of credit. And you also need to have some due diligence. Now, due diligence means what? It means that you are comparing and contrasting all the lenders who have responded to you and also their actual offers. Okay, and this is important to have a clear idea about the offers available out there, so you know exactly how to position yourself. So you can actually, when we talk about due diligence, you have to check a couple of things. You have to check the interest rate, for example. You have to check the draw fee. Okay, if you have an LLC, business line of credit, low income and no income, or no income, you have to check the draw fee, the payment processing fee. Okay, you want to check the late fee also. You want to check the termination fee. You want to check the prepayment penalty. What am I trying to say here? The point I'm trying to make here is that there are gazillions of fees that can actually add up and cost you a lot more. So the earlier you know about those fees, the better. And the thing here is that either way, the bank is making money, because once they set up the business line of credit for you, there are automatic. I would say charges that are done, so that the bank or the credit card issuer in general knows that, hey, listen, we're making money, and this could be a credit card issuer, a lender, or it can be whoever purveys a fund to your business has to make sure that you have potential, that you'll be able to get back to them and really pay them. Thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, we just talked about how to get an LLC business line of credit with low income, no income proof. And so think about the funding level, the type, the qualification, the comparison, and the paperwork and the application itself. And last but not the least, I also spoke about the due diligence. Thank you. God bless you. I'll speak to you another time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.